welcome back to another episode of NFT Artist Spotlight, hosted by AstroZero. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks.
So today in our spaces, we have industrial engineer and AI NFT artist, Soma. Or is it Soma AI? I don't know which you prefer going by. Is the AI a part of your project name, or is that just letting people know that it's an AI project?
It's like both. A lot of people just shorthand say Soma. It's a lot easier, and it's not necessary to always have to say AI. You know what I mean? So it's either way works. No preference.
All right, awesome. Well, I've really been looking forward to having this space for a while because um, I'm really curious about AI art. Um, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started with the project and what made you decide to go the AI route?
Yeah. So I do want to preface this by saying, so Soma is me, obviously, and it's also my boyfriend, Ryan. My name's Fallon. I am an industrial engineer, but Ryan is also a machine learning programmer, and that's really, really important for this project, obviously being in artificial intelligence. So how we got started with NFTs and the AI route was I just recently graduated college as, like you mentioned, industrial engineer. And I did my first internship for a couple months right after I graduated. And while it was very informative and I did enjoy the job, it wasn't as thought provoking and creative as I'd like it to be. I'm not made to sit in a cubicle for 9 to 5, which is what I did. And then just basically work on CAD all day, which is it's just basically a modeling program. So that's basically what I did in my internship all day. But like I said, it just wasn't really what I liked. And at the same time, Ryan's always been kind of a tech junkie. He has self-programmed for years. He reads tech news like the back of his hand. And that's where he was bringing up NFTs to me, whereas I wasn't as well versed in that area. But I knew at the time I didn't like my job. So he was bringing NFTs up to me. And we were kind of just talking about it together and the potential and possibility that we were seeing in the metaverse and in the NFT space, because we've been in the crypto space for a while. We invest in a lot of crypto, but we wanted to kind of go the NFT route. And so, like, we're not traditional artists, though. We aren't painters. We don't work with oil, unfortunately. We weren't gifted with that kind of gift set. So we were like, okay, well, what could we do? And this is where Ryan kind of brought up to me AI and artificial intelligence and the possibility to go that route. And so that's really where the AI kind of coupled with the NFT space in that moment. But yeah, that's kind of just like how we got started. And then I'm gonna let Ryan talk about like more of the actual technical process. Whereas as we go through the space, you're gonna kind of see that I'm kind of like front end for a lot of Soma as you hear me talk in a lot of these spaces, and not so much Ryan. This is just because Ryan is very introverted. He gets really anxious and doesn't do well, but he loves tech and he has a passion for tech. And so when he talks about it, you're definitely gonna tell like he has a passion, but his social skills are a little, he's laughing at me. But so I just wanted to kind of like preface that because I know a lot of people just think Soma's just me, but it's not. He's a very big part of this project. Honestly, he's the artist of the project, whereas I am the marketing frontier and on that front. So.
All right, well, stop picking on Ryan. All right.
I know he's laughing at me. He's like, "Dude, you're making me sound bad." And I was like, "No, I like to always talk about it because he is like the typical introvert, and so but he loves tech though. So when he talks about it, there's such a passion."
So let's talk a little bit about AI art. If you want to get Ryan on here, because I have a lot of questions about it. I've only really heard about AI art probably in the last 3 or 4 months, and it's something that really intrigues me, and I think it's kind of an avenue that I could kind of venture into as far as NFTs go, because I'm really not that artistically talented. So if you could just kind of describe for like in layman's terms, tell us what AI art is about and how one would go about creating it.
Oh, for sure. Let me hand off the phone to my other half.
Hey everyone. Yeah, so I'm not the best at social events, so sorry if I say too much or stutter or anything. But so yeah, I can basically describe like the idea behind it. I'll try to keep it understandable. In the most general sense, the ones that everyone's using that you see popularized is a GAN. You probably seen that around. Uh, it so basically a GAN is it's a CNN, which is a convolutional neural network, which sounds something from Skynet going to take over, but it's pretty simple. And what a GAN is basically having like two different machine learning models like argue with each other. So an analogy I use all the time is uh, so one more thing. The popularized is a GAN and followed by a clip, which is a different model, which mostly processes words and text rather than images. And so what the GAN does is it takes in a prompt or different parameters, and so you can tell it like, "Hey, draw me a dog," and so it'll do its best based on whatever data set that it's trained on, and then it'll go to clip, which is a discriminator model, and then it'll say, "Hey, is this a dog?" And then it'll give you an error value, and it's like there's a 1% chance this is a dog. Keep trying. And so that's that iteration process, where that GAN stands for generative adversarial network, and so that adversarial part is it competing with the discriminator, saying like, no, try again, no, try again, no, try again. So the analogy is that the GAN generates the art, and so it's like the car, and then the clip discriminator is like the steering wheel, so it guides it towards whatever end you're trying to get. And so the clip is what actually like evaluates the text you give it. So like by telling it a dog, it's actually is what is measuring like, is that a dog, yes or no. Yeah, so there's a lot of different parameters and values you can modify within the code, but that's kind of it in a nutshell. There's a lot of different, there's dozens and dozens and dozens of different models out there. So VQ-GAN plus clip is one. There's a big GAN, there's a deep sleep or deep dream. There's different clips. There's clip. You can have multiple clip diffusion models too. There's plenty of different versions out there, but a very popular one is VQ-GAN plus clip. Yeah. If you have any other questions.
So is that the particular program that you guys are using to generate this art?
Yeah, so I've tried a lot of different ones. The one that it works best with me, it has there's certain parameters I like to modify that a lot of people don't really know about, like image step size or initial weight for like a prompt. Like you can tell it like how much do you want me to use this prompt? Like, do you want me to like dog-ish or give me a strict dog? So there's a lot like that's the initial weight value, and so there's values like that or like a cut number or batch size. So there's a lot of different values that I like that I'm able to tweak by running the VQ-GAN plus clip locally. That's the other thing too, is that there's a lot of different ways to run it, such as so the three ways would be like a website, like what's Night Cafe. I think Wombo, it's like a phone app, right? Phone app. And so with those, it's very streamlined, and the UI is like user friendly. And so you just like give it a prompt, you can modify stuff. I think you have to pay for Night Cafe if I'm not wrong. But the other way that's very popular is Google Collab notebooks. So this is all these CNNs are very like computationally heavy. So if you don't have a very powerful GPU, you're not going to be able to run them locally. So Google Collabs, you actually kind of rent a GPU online, and so you can use the notebook, use all the code that someone else wrote, and they run it for you, and then you just kind of wait for that. That's a good way to do it, but it doesn't let you modify certain values, and unless you know what you're doing. But there's so trying to get that control to guide it towards like certain themes, like we have weekly themes, right? So it's kind of difficult to be, Alice in Wonderland. Uh, so I'm able to guide it in a certain way by running it locally and modifying the actual script. So that's what we use specifically is the VQ-GAN plus clip that was popularized by Nerdy Rodent. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He has a GitHub repository that's very like user friendly on how to get it to run locally, and so that's where we started at, and then we just modified it heavily. And you run it through the command line prompt. It's not too difficult. Just the hardest part was modifying the script, but running it itself is very similar. It's like a Google Collab. Like you give it a prompt, you can change parameters and values and negative weight values, initial image, so stuff along those lines.
Very cool. Does AI art, in your opinion, open up new entry points for people that might be a little bit apprehensive to get into the NFT space that might not feel so artistic like myself?
Yeah, I think it does. I'm someone that's always appreciated art. Like I absolutely love the Baroque period, or if it's sculptures, I love the Hellenistic period. So I've always been fascinated with art, just not that great at it. But I've always loved coding, and so this was a great opportunity and like outlet for me to like flex my creativity. Uh, but no, it definitely is a very good entry point if it's something you're interested in. And not only that, like I can go into our process later of specifically how we make it if you want. But uh, I've gotten a lot better at like sketching and drawing because of this process. Like, because so I sketch out a basic scene before putting it into the AI. Because if you start from scratch, it's unless you're iterating a ton, it kind of gets too abstract for us. Like, it's hard to focus on a central theme if you don't start from anything. So what I do is I sketch a scene in Photoshop, and that gives it a very like solid jumping off point. Because I don't know if so people are familiar with this, but the AI, it does read the scene. So if you start on like a white, just give it a white sheet of paper, it'll know, okay, so that's just a blank background. I'll do what I want with it. But if you block out like a specific scene, it will focus on those areas. So you can kind of give it a really solid jumping off point, or add noise to the areas you really wanted to focus on. Uh, but yeah, I do think it's a good way to like flex your creativity in my scene. And like I said, I sketching these scenes, like I feel like I'm getting better and better, and I'm actually becoming like a pretty good artist. No, I mean I don't want to say that. I'm okay-ish.
Damn, I'm getting rugged here. All right, I'm back. You can say that you're a good artist. I went through a lot of your guys' stuff, like that you have on OpenSea, and I like it. I don't really think it matters how you create the art. It really matters what the final product is, and that's why AI art really it intrigues me because it makes me feel like I could create something that I normally wouldn't think I'd be able to. So, do you guys have like a like any type of recurring themes in your artwork that you make, or does it kind of change from piece to piece? Are you going the collection route, or are you just going like one of ones?
So we do one of one weekly theme drops. So we typically come up with a theme, but this week specifically we set out a poll and had like four options, and I was actually really surprised at how many people voted. Uh, yeah, over 100 people I think voted, and honestly, I'm really glad mythical creatures won. So I tend to like the darker arts. Like our first drop was occult, so I tend to like the more uh, occult, like darker feeling to art. But uh, but no, it's that's just my specific likeness, I guess. But there are certain inspiration I get, like so I don't know if you're familiar with Gustav Dorr or Caspar Friedrich. Those are some of my favorite artists. I like the like muted colors, dark themes. So uh, along with that, yeah, that's basically where our themes come from. But uh, like I said before, we try to stick to something like very structured. So we try to shy away from going abstract as much as we can. Just how we appreciate the art, I guess, and what we're after.
So, how frequently is the final product of a piece that you make end up being a throwaway piece? Like, out of 10 pieces that you generate, how many of them are keepers?
Ooh, uh, so that's kind of the process. Is I'll sketch out something. Here, I can use a recent example. This one's kind of a spoiler, but so for this week's drop, mythical creatures, one of them was a not so familiar creature that most people probably don't know, but it's actually important to me. It's called a Groot slang. So a Groot slang is it's an African mythological creature that I researched the hell out of when I was overseas because I spent 9 months in East Africa. But it was one that I just researched a lot. I knew when I was bored. It was just fun to research and look into. So this piece, I sketch out a basic scene. So this is like with uh, me talking about errors, right? So I sketch out a basic scene, like I block out, like, okay, I want a landscape. And so what the Groot slang is a giant snake with the head of an elephant. And so it's this cool mythological creature. So I sketch out a basic snake shape on the ground, and I give texture to the sky and background, and then I put it through, and I realize, you wait for it to iterate, and then when it comes out, I'm like, oh shit, like it just mixed the snake body with the ground, and so what I consider that not what I want creatively. So back to the drawing board, I go back to Photoshop, and I add like a noise brush to separate the snake body from the ground. And that's just basically to let the AI know, like, hey, these are two distinct objects, the body and the ground. And I make sure I reflect that in the prompt as well. And then I change, like I mentioned before, the prompt weight. And then it comes out with, okay, so the AI, since I added that discriminator line, it's like, okay, I'll separate those. And then it comes out with a separated body. And I really like how that one turned out. But so out of 10, it's hard to say out of 10 because like I'll iterate, I'll work on art, and then if it doesn't come out, I'll just immediately be like, nope, back to drawing board. So I end up spending a while on each piece, I'd say. Like yeah. So most of my day, I get off from programming and I just go straight to NFT artwork, and so I just work on this on all my free time, taken up by NFTs. But I really enjoy the actual process. But so I will say it's very rare for the first attempt to just be perfect. That happened like once. I think it was our second piece, the Dark Lord Entombed. That one, I think that one was the only one that the first attempt I was just like, wow, this is perfect.
So you guys are making an Alice in Wonderland themed collection currently. How many pieces do you have so far in this collection?
So the Alice in Wonderland piece was actually last Friday, and we sold out within 24 hours. It was about 20 pieces. We typically do 15 to 20, depending on if time allows, and depending on time allows. So we had 20 different pieces, and I think within like 2 hours, over half the collection sold, and then by the end of 24 hours, we were sold out. And it's kind of interesting to see like the interactivity between like people who own our art in our Discord talking about it, and even the secondary sales are amazing. Like some of these secondary sales people are getting are like more 0.1. Like someone last night sold one of our pieces for 0.1, which is more than like our actual art that we're selling. So we're like, oh, good for you. And then we always like to congratulate them, and we're rooting for everyone. So
Are you building royalties into your art?
yeah, so there's the 10% royalty with the collection. I think that's across all of our collections, but
Okay, that's great. Talk about the charity element that you guys are doing with the project.
okay. So basically, we alternate between a charity week and a Discord member reflection week, and it just bounces one then the other every other week. The charity we for the Alice in Wonderland we donated to Toys to Tots, and we try to look for charities that are on the giving block, which is like the donation crypto method. And so a lot of charities nowadays are adopting that, where you can easily donate crypto straight to these organizations. So 10%. So basically, all the profits from whatever week it lands on, 10% go to charity, and then the next week, when it's a Discord member reflection, 5% of all profits go to a random member of our Discord. We just put your name in the giant spinning wheel, and then we get 5%.
Well, and it is weighted because there's a level 1, 2, and 3 collective, and that's just based upon your engagement in the Discord. So, for instance, if you're level 1, your name gets put in twice. If you're level 2, 3 times, and so on and so on. The higher level you are, the more chances you have to win. So, just kind of a little incentive for our Discord members. Just you know how it can be trying to get engagement in Discord, so it's a little difficult. So we just try to make it fun for everybody in the community.
Yeah, so as you level up, you get more attempts at winning that reflection. Which I will say, our second week, I believe, was the week that we like sold everything out. Like we had a collector come and like buy up all of our past projects and everything. And so that was on a Discord member reflection week. And a Discord member ended up getting, what was it? $270. Yeah, $270 to a Discord member. Just based on that reflection, we just chose at random, and I think they were stoked, and we were happy that one of our Discord members were able to retrieve that. And also, so for the Alice in Wonderland, I think we raised about $174 to Toys for Tots, which is an organization that Fallon's really close to, as she used to volunteer a lot with them. So that was important to her. I'm happy we got that.
That's awesome. You guys are on Polygon. What made you decide to go Polygon rather than ETH or Solana?
No, you're good. I'm going to take this question. But he was doing so good. So actually, Beluga, and I'm sure a lot of you people know Beluga Bay. He's really big in the Polygon front, and that's actually who kind of introduced us to Polygon. As when we first got in, we saw Ethereum, and then we saw Polygon as like an option on the blockchain, but we didn't totally know what that was. And at the same time, like, we met Beluga. He started a group chat called the Poly Collective. We were a part of that, and he started doing his, Polygon project spaces every single day. And that's where we started joining and getting into the space. And what really was attractive to us was the gasless fee, there's still a fee, but OpenSea covers it. Well, I don't know for how long, but anyway, that's a story for another time. So that's really what made us go Polygon, just because we are too young in our 20s, people who don't have a lot of liquidity, and so we wanted to get in the NFT space like everyone else, and so we're like, this was really a low barrier of entry for us, and then at the same time we wanted to be on the most common platform, which is OpenSea at the moment, and so that's really why we didn't go like Rarible and stuff, but we did just get a foundation invite, and so we're pretty excited about that, as we are exploring, especially for 2022, some different routes we're going to take with our art, which we can discuss later too if you want. But so that's what we're going to probably be branching some of, not higher quality, because I don't want to lower the quality of our other pieces, but just some different mediums onto Foundation. So we're pretty excited about that.
Are you aware of the commission fee for Foundation?
Yes, and we know of the like double charging and stuff, and we have been looking into ways around those and barriers right now, but we still haven't, we're not anywhere close to listing on Foundation at the moment, so our attention is definitely still on OpenSea.
Okay. Have you gotten in touch with Creative Al's, and if so, are you guys going to be at the Polygon Summit that he's going to be having on the 22nd?
Oh, heck yeah. We love Creative. We stay in contact. He's actually a collective of us as well, as we have an owl too. But he's the one that really introduced us to spatial and metaverse galleries. And so we've been so fortunate enough to be able to attend his New Year's Eve party. We attended his first opening showcase when he first started spatial. And yes, we are going to be at his Polygon showcase, which I think is in a couple weeks or so. My dates have been going kind of in blur, but we definitely will be there. We love the metaverse. We think it's such a cool way to view art. And yeah, so we're definitely going to be there.
Venus, you requested. Do you have a question for the guys?
Hello. Actually, I want to promote myself if it's possible.
We'll do that after the space. Okay.
Sorry.
We're gonna have everybody's gonna have a chance to talk about their project after the space. We're doing an AMA right now. Request after we're finished. We'll be done in about 30 minutes. All right, where was I? So that kind of threw me off. Oh, virtual galleries. That's what I wanted to talk about. Have you put any of your artwork into any virtual galleries?
So we have been talking with Dave, as he has an on cyber gallery, and we started looking into maybe getting one as well. I will be completely transparent. Time is our biggest enemy right now, in between Ryan's day job and me marketing and creating art in our spare time. Being in the metaverse, it's really hard for us to find time for that. But it's definitely something we think is important and are definitely trying to set aside. But just these next couple weeks, Ryan's really busy. He has some military obligations, and this coming 2 weeks actually. So that's why we're most slammed. And on top of we're creating custom pieces for some of our collectors. So we're just kind of slammed for time. But that is definitely something that we will be getting more into in the future.
Do you have any plans in the near future of incorporating any type of additional utility into your project?
Well, right now, I'll be honest, when we first started this, obviously no one expects to blow up, right? And we didn't really expect that. Like, we love our art and we love that other people love our art. And so when we first made this, our utility was, giving back to the community and art itself. But with us growing as like fast as we are definitely looking into some different avenues of utility. Like Ryan had suggested at one time, being here, I'm gonna let him explain it because he's better at it.
So this is like something we definitely need to find time for. As she said, we're like super busy. But we have ideas for stuff. Like imagine like going to our website and there being like a module where you can insert your own prompt, and it automatically generates art based on using our own model and our own GPU, right? Kind of like a Google Colab built into our website that you can enter and produce your own art that you feel passionate about, and then you can mint it straight from our site based on like a smart contract. See, that's another side project I'm learning too. Is I'm very big into self-teaching myself different aspects like cybersecurity. I'm very big on as well. But so teaching myself Solidity right now on the side, as well as all this art and my machine learning job. So it's a lot going on right now. But that's something I do want to learn or complete down the road, is some kind of application on our website where we can implement custom pieces for people, mint it right there, and they can buy it right there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you had any type of plans in the future or down the road to actually program your own like UI for somebody where you could mint anything, or possibly you could input a picture, like if I wanted to put in a picture of my nephew and then go into your UI and then be able to convert it over into some sort of generative piece, and then maybe, I don't know, it would get put into a virtual gallery, or maybe it wouldn't necessarily cost me anything, but you would get royalties off of additional sales off it. I was just curious if you guys had any kind of out of the box game plans for stuff like that.
No, that's absolutely it, like nail on the head. That's kind of what we're trying to do, is create this like personalized feel to it, right? Because we get the community's input on themes, and that's really fun seeing what people are interested in. So it would be even more interesting to see people's own creative prompts, or like you said, like an important photo to them, and see what that would create, or just pieces that they really connect with, rather than ones that I connect with, that they connect with through me. I want them to be able to personalize it. But yes, that's definitely in the works. Just busy times. Definitely our biggest enemy.
I have a couple quick technical questions before you pass it back off. Now, if you're going to do a generative piece and I want to do an AI piece, let's say I take a picture of Robert De Niro, right? And I want to do a certain type of parameter to change what his mouth looks like. Can I also do a whole separate type of parameter to maybe change his eyes and his nose?
Yes, you can. So other than some of the other modifications I said, like the Perlin noise, image step size, all that, that's more minute stuff that uh, is very tailored. But so with just the prompt itself, a lot of people are familiar with this, but some aren't. Uh, if you separate a prompt with a pipe symbol, which is like the straight up and down symbol on your keyboard, it that tells the UI that, or the AI, sorry, that these are two separate prompts, but I want you to blend them. And so not only with that, you give those different values. So like let me say Robert De Niro, and then I would say give that a value of 75. You do a colon 75 space, and then you add a pipe symbol, and then you could, or Robert De Niro with a frown, right? And then you add the pipe symbol and say Robert De Niro with green eyes, pipe symbol, or then you give that a value of like 50 maybe. Like you don't want to over modify it, right? So if you give it a low value, it's like, okay, you want 30% green eyes on Robert De Niro. And so you can keep adding these different weights and different pipe values to get a very blended image that you're after. Oh yeah, I will say that faces are one thing that are very hard. So what I've read is that, so a lot of these, so most of these GAN and generative art stuff is based on Dolly's model. Dolly are very secretive about their parameters and about what they're trained on, and it's not public. Russians actually reverse engineered it, and it's called Russian Dolly. But that's another thing. So basically, since they're protective of it, they did release Clip alongside that, which people use. But OpenAI is the next big one that made a publicly available model that people use today is based on OpenAI. And from what I read, they basically make it very difficult to train on faces intentionally to avoid for security reasons. For like you've seen people use like deep fake and stuff like that to reproduce that Tom Cruise who looks exactly like him. So they didn't want people recreating absolutely perfect faces. I don't know if this is like a conspiracy theory, but you definitely notice it is hard to make accurate faces in these GANs.
Okay. My second and last technical question: if I'm making a piece of AI art, we'll just say a face, just to keep it kind of uniform with the way I was going. So let's say I make a face, and the first thing I want to do and generate is the mouth of the person, and then I want to do the eyes second, and then the nose third. If I don't like how the eyes came out in the second step, can I revert back and keep the mouth the same if I like the mouth, or do I have to start over fresh?
So yes, with relative accuracy. So one value that's in like every type of GAN is called the seed value, and that basically randomizes how it scrapes the data set. And so let's say you have a seed value of like 112165 or whatever. Whatever that seed value is as long as you save that seed value and give it the same text prompt, same seed value, same parameters, it should create it relatively close. So let's say you had Robert De Niro, whatever, 100% value, and then a pipe symbol, and then you said give him green eyes with 80%, and then you're like, oh, that didn't turn out too good. Let's lower that. Let's give him 20% green eyes. As long as you have that same seed value, it should turn out relatively the same. If you change that seed value, it's going to modify it. It not to a crazy extent, but it will modify it visibly.
This is the most technical I've ever got on an AMA before, so
No, ask away. This is like my forte. This is what I like talking about.
yeah, well, I can't really think of too many more technical things. I'm not really too good at that part of it. But can you guys talk about any giveaways that you've done? If you have any upcoming giveaways or collaborations that you're doing with people, that maybe you want to plug in order to, build your Discord or anything else.
Yeah, I'll hand it back to Fallon for that one. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, so we definitely do a giveaway every single week that we have a drop. It's just kind of our way of like another chance for somebody to get one of our pieces for free. So we definitely do a giveaway every single drop. We had it initially on a roadmap for Friday, but it was too hard to do the drop and that, so we just changed the giveaway to Saturday. So right after our drop on Saturday, there's always going to be a giveaway, and I always make them really simple. Like you just have to follow us and retweet like my pin tweet. I don't make people tag others and stuff. I just want to keep it easy and simple for people to join, because I know how that can be, and sometimes people don't like being tagged. So definitely that's our giveaway. As far as collabs, we are like working with a lot of other artists and trying to do collabs. Like I mentioned, I know we say like time again, but time really is hard. So we have worked with Viber, and I don't know if you know who Viber is, but he's a big part of the Beluga space. So I have worked with Viber, and we created a collection, and that's just kind of being wait to be released on his end, because he's like Photoshop wizard, and he's doing some After Effects to some of our pieces. So that'll be coming. I don't know when though. I'll be completely honest, because he's been kind of busy with his own collection drops. But that is one of the bigger collabs we've done. I know I did with Taco Tribe. I created an AI taco for them for one of their derivative, just fun giveaway things. And actually we won, so that was pretty cool. But as far as like just a lot of like ongoing collabs, not many. Like I said, just time. And Ryan has something to add.
Oh, I guess just with I don't know if she talked about it, but with the giveaway ish is anyone who owned two pieces from our collection or more, we reached out to them and basically, if you own two before January 1st, we reached out to you and we asked like, what would you want to see in a custom piece that we'll mint and give to you? This is a way to give back to the people that really support us, and it's happy to see them get a more personalized piece. So we've been working on that for a while now, trying to get those custom pieces because I really like the prompts that a lot of people came up with. So it's been fun seeing what they want and working on it. So
Yeah, there was like 16 pieces that we had to create. So that on top of the weekly drop. So that was fun.
So you guys have also been helping run Twitter Spaces at nighttime. Well, it's really nighttime for me. I'm usually sound asleep by then. But you have Trip running it, and both the Soma crew and Emily Ann are running it. So can you tell us a little bit about your space? What you guys talk about? Is there specific topics? Is it kind of just like open mic and open ended? How does it work? And I don't know if Trip wants to come up and speak as well, but if you do, I'll bring you up too.
Yeah, so we are fortunate enough to, me and Emily are co-hosts of Trip on his nightly space, and it's called the Put Your Kids to Bed, shill and chill. It's for collectors, artists, whatever. But I will say it's not just a chill space. It's definitely a space that we have tried to create some like being open-minded and listening to people, because we've had a lot of mental health talks. We've had a lot of like if people blockchain questions. Trip is very good about helping other artists give ideas, support. So I will definitely say it's more than just a chill space, whereas that is kind of the focus, I guess. And it's every single night from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern. So I'm actually on the West Coast. So for me, it's only 10 or 8 to 10 p.m. So I'm kind of fortunate on that front. But yeah, it's been nightly so far. Me, Em, and Trip have been there every single night for about a week or two now. And it's a really great space just to come and talk and ask some questions. Like we definitely try to create an environment that it's a low pressure. We've been in a lot of other spaces where it's all about, okay, you guys have a 3-minute Shark Tank, and like we try not to do that because we want to be more intimate with the artists that come up. And I know for me, I at least try to buy a piece from you can ask Trip. I buy a piece. My collection is like 75-piece collection now, because I try to buy a piece every single night that someone comes in and talks, because I don't know, supporting small artists is really, really important in this space. We all started somewhere, and that's really important to me specifically, and I know it is for Trip and Emily as well. So that's a little bit about that space. Not to
Yeah,
go too.
like supporting your local mom and pop shop. That's kind of how I look at it. How we support smaller artists, and I dig it so much. Trip, you got anything you want to talk about?
Actually, real quick, you kind of hit what I was gonna say. That's kind of how I treat it. It's kind of like the small mom and pop shops, right? So like, if you just kind of help each other around everywhere, you kind of get that back, and it's been super successful. As in, there's so much knowledge going around, and it's been crazy. And as she was saying, we try not to like discourage anybody from coming in, because we try to give everybody the floor for the amount that they have for their project and whatever they have to say or questions and everything like that. There's been a few nights where we had to kind of like move that along, but I mean that happens, right? But I also add people to fast pass for the next day, so those people can come back and they can talk first before anybody else. And we definitely have a lot of collectors coming in at night, kind of at random and kind of anonymous, right? So we've definitely had at least one piece sell from the crowd every night so far, and like she said, we've been doing this for almost 2 weeks straight. We've had a man come in, Viber. He has sold out 2 full collections within the hours of us being in the space too. So
Whoop, whoop.
it's definitely been really, really cool seeing how it's been going on, and definitely it's been a pleasure working with Soma. The two of them by my side, I couldn't be able to do it without them too. So
It's pretty crazy how a few people at host spaces kind of turned this into an all day event if you really want. How we have uh, Mega and we have Creative Owls in the morning, and then um, midday you got Beluga and Dave. Then you got us. We're kind of like the right after dinner, and then you got you guys in the late night. So it's you really like if you want to spend your whole day in spaces, like you could really spend your whole day in spaces, and there's like 2 hour shows that you could just kind of chill with all day long. And kind of happened organically. We just kind of did this. I don't know how the hell it happened, but it happened.
I think it has a large part to do with how strong, especially specifically Polygon, and that community is. Because I know a lot of the artists you mentioned are on Polygon, and that's where we got introduced to a lot of other people like Creative, Mega, Beluga. That's like where we all met, and we all started becoming friends. And we were like, okay, so then when's your space? Okay, here's when I want mine. And then that's where we're like, okay, guys, we're creating like an all day type of space where we all kind of know each other, and we're creating this environment of friendship and just community. You know what I mean? So I like that you point that out, that it's kind of crazy, but it's also just super awesome.
What's up, Trip?
Yeah, just real quick. That was kind of like the whole point to why I kind of approached Soma and Emily to be my co-hosts. I asked them if it was cool with that time, and we've kind of been stating around everywhere around Twitter. It's more or less we do pretty much have a 24-hour clock now running with spaces. So one thing I wanted to say is anybody in the crowd, definitely jump into some of those spaces and start talking because you're going to be heard. And we were definitely getting to know a lot of people first name and by PFPs and different things like that. And it's definitely been super, super cool. And yeah, thanks for letting me come up and talk about that real quick.
Yeah, no problem. And the good thing too is it's none of us are really running the same format either. It's not like just you show your project, okay, next you show your project, next you show your project. Like everybody kind of has like their own thing, but we're all interconnected through it. And if you have an NFT project and you want to get in really like involved with a relatively large group of people, Polygon is really like a very supportive crew that we have here. And like I said, the spaces run all day long, so you're going to be able to meet a lot of people that are always willing to help you and help your journey along the way. So I'm glad I met you guys. You guys really you guys kind of give me the motivation to keep on going too. Like it really is a lot of work to do this stuff like every day and to keep on a tight schedule and doing this. But I appreciate you guys a lot.
I don't think I know what sleep is, my man, anymore, my man. Between creating, trying to run spaces, jumping in discords, I also help my buddy run a small business. Yeah, it's definitely been chaotic the past couple weeks, but honestly, my community is what makes me run full full force there. And like I said, I wouldn't be able to do it without my co-host.
So I've got a question for Soma, but I also just want to say that's why we're here, is to support small artists, and pretty much like that's the point of these spaces. And a lot of the spaces that were mentioned were to support small artists. And I just want to say that's the vision we're all about. And Soma, you actually bought one of my pieces, and I just want to say it meant a freaking lot. It wasn't a whole lot of money, but it really it gave me a lot of hope. And it means a lot to see that small artists are also supporting small artists. And the amount that we're growing is awesome in the Polygon community. And the combination of all these spaces that we're working on, the flooding in from Dave and Creative Owl spaces is cool. And it's kind of why we're here. But my question was about machine learning and AI. I'm a little bit of a nerd and weirdo. I would love to know if there's any if there's any possibility that AI and machine learning, or do you know of any AI or machine learning that could be attached or made with communication and vocal data?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, hold on, Ryan's getting excited. I gotta hand the phone over to him.
Hey, yeah. So there's actually a few different things that I've seen around. I haven't personally messed with them too much, but they do exist. So, are you basically saying you can generate art based on a sound file or music or an audio file? Because if that's the case, yeah, then there's different methods. I can send you some links afterwards if you're interested. I think there's one that's it's musician n. It's multiple n's, kind of like a neural network. But that's one that I don't know exactly how it works behind the scenes. I guess it would take the peaks and valley values from a song, like the basically like it'll recreate the sound value and interpret it and try and translate that to art based on the sound, amplitudes. But I don't really know exactly, but I have seen that around. And another one that's like I forget what it's called exactly, but it's basically uses clip instead of GAN. It uses a clip with some kind of audio discriminator.
So my question was more like, so I have a dream of making interactable digital consciousness, and I was wondering if, like, I guess this might be something that we'd have to take to a DMs, but I was just wondering if you believe there's any potential to make a 3D interactable file using AI that you could, essentially like speak to or hold a conversation with digitally.
I think it's absolutely possible, and I think that it already exists out there. In as so far as I'm pretty sure it would be run in like an application rather than as like a file, like a GLB file or something, because I think those are like immutable, so you can't really alter it after the fact. But there's a lot of interesting going on. There's stuff I was researching the other day that's basically like it's art that's generated based on live data. So this is something I'm very interested in. Is so before a machine learning program, I was a data scientist, and so data's like big data is always at my core. I love working with it. Uh, there's an artist that I'm really inspired by named Rafik Anadol. If anyone's familiar with him, he uses big data, so like real world data, like the wind values from airports, and he generates these amazing light shows and artistic pieces based on actual data. And so to circle back, there's actually something I saw. It was basically generating art based on your live Twitter feed. And so if you get different tweets, it would change this live art piece. And so people could just tweet different colors and aspects and shapes, and it would influence the art. Something like that, though, I think it would be a different type of program rather than something you could upload to OpenSea. Because I'm kind of struggling with the same thing, working towards that direction, but it's like I don't know exactly how to get that on OpenSea. So it might be something we could implement on like a website or something like that. But oh, absolutely! Like I'll hit you up in the DMs and send you some links, and we can talk more.
Oh yeah, man! Thank you.
How long do you think it's going to take before Polygon has an art project on it, like the Bored Apes? That sizable of a project.
Well, I mean, as far as I know, I see like that Zed Run horse racing is on Polygon, and they're quite a big project. I haven't looked into the project or any like aspects on that front. I just know they're quite large because I like to look at the statistics on OpenSea. But as far as like to become Bored Ape status, I think we're trending in the right direction. Ethereum has been battle tested quite a bit longer than Polygon has, as it's been around and quite a bit longer. So, I mean, we're kind of seeing the struggles right now with Polygon, you know what I mean? So I think it's definitely here coming in the future, but for now, I can't give you a time.
If they can iron out some of the wrinkles, I think Polygon could take the lead.
Yeah.
So, have you come to witness any artists that are minting on Polygon that after they actually got their feet wet with it have decided to go back to Ethereum, or do they typically have like staying power within Polygon itself?
Well, I'll be honest, we're kind of like biased in the fact that like we were introduced to the Polygon community first, and so that's kind of like the community we know right now. Obviously, I know I've been in some bigger Twitter spaces with blue checks and stuff where they strictly use Ethereum for various reasons. But so I have been talking to them, and they only strictly use Ethereum. So I don't know if like that biggest struggle right now I think would be kind of pushing Polygon on in putting Polygon giving Polygon more of a platform, I guess, versus like if people go back and forth. Because I mean, it's really hard to pass up the no gas fee. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to throw $200 to the wind or whatever it may be at the moment. So that is like a very attractive standing with Polygon. But yeah, as far as like going from like Polygon back to Ethereum, I'm not sure of any artists that have done that. I know artists that do both. That have collections on Ethereum and Polygon to try and just be more attractive to both communities of strictly Ethereum or strictly Polygon. So yeah, that's as far as I guess we would know.
Yeah, typically the people I see that are doing the splits, they use Polygon to do a lot of their airdrops in order to save money as far as that goes. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's what we see too. So
yeah, I'm not really down with gas fees. I think gas fees are pretty like whack. I still have a hard time justifying like buying a $30 NFT and paying $250 gas on it. It's really, really difficult for me to wrap my head around that. I would much rather take the $30 for the NFT and the $250 and just give the artist $280 for their art, as opposed to my $250 just floating in limbo for gas fees.
100%.
Well, it goes in the garbage too. That money.
Well, it's like, to go off that, like I've seen a lot of artists, like you have to not overprice their work on Ethereum, but you have to make it, almost more expensive than the gas fee. Because then it's like I've seen a lot of artists, like it's kind of pointless to only pay, $10, where to also pay $200 just for transaction to go through. You know what I mean? So I see that like kind of weakness with Ethereum in that sense as well.
Yeah, that's kind of why I was asking you earlier if you looked into the fees for Foundation, because I know they charge like 15% commission for people to sell their art on there. And I feel like a lot of artists, when they go on platforms like Foundation, they have pressure to raise the price of their art. And if their art's already established at a lower price, I feel like they kind of have a fine line that they're like walking on, where should they raise the price in order to cover the commission fees, or should they just do the same price that they normally go and just take a hit in order to be on an additional marketplace? I think there's a lot of thought you have to put into it when you're doing stuff like this.
No, 100%. And that's kind of like why, if we were to go on Foundation, we would be exploring different mediums, as in the quality of the art would definitely be different than what is shown on OpenSea. So kind of like what Ryan was saying, is more of that like data science art. That's kind of the route that we were going to probably go towards if we were going to go on Foundation, as in that is a lot more technical and a lot more time involved in order to create art like that. So it's going to by default be, I guess, a bit more of a pricier piece from time and quality. So that's if we were like, when we go the Foundation route, it definitely won't be the artwork that like you see on OpenSea at all.
Yeah. Well, I normally don't do this, but I'm going to do it today. Once and once only, we are opening up a gasless marketplace, and we're going to have the lowest commission fees out there. So, and we're on Polygon. So if you guys ever decide to, stroll on over to our side,
we see you. We've had a lot of your supporters comment on the chain or whatever on our tweets, so it's definitely something we're looking towards. I will say we are working with a lot of other NFT marketplaces, where like we are going to be on Sugar Factory, BSC, Mint NFT we're going to be working with, and like OpenSea, obviously. So like we honestly, like we're also actually going to be working with Mulletverse too, as they are creating their own platform as well. So we're trying to like get our feet wet in like kind of all these different areas. One, because like obviously like we want to put ourselves out there, but we also want to help everybody else and like get putting our name on all these different platforms. So I think it'd be a cool way just to help. It's like we help each other out. So
yeah, that's the only time I'm ever going to do that. I only did it because our developer's in the room, and I wanted to give him a little bit of a shout.
Nah, you're fine. You're fine. I know. Like, there's like, I mean, especially with NFTs being such a new space, like all these like other different platforms, it's about time they start coming out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, anybody has any questions for Soma? Feel free to raise your hand to come up. If you're in the box, shout it out. Here's a question I had for you. I don't know how comfortable it's going to sound when I ask it. When you did the Alice in Wonderland collection, were you a little bit worried about possible like copyright issues?
Yeah. So actually, I'm glad that you brought that up, Ryan. I'm gonna let him talk about it because he was the artist.
Yeah, it's always something that like you have to take into account, because you can't just like take an image and then throw it into AI and like use that as your art, and at least not without giving like credit towards the original artist or the original creator or something like that, because we're big on trying to avoid copyright issues, and we don't want to even go towards that. But so I guess it was on our mind, but we did our best to try and just utilize like famous likenesses, right? Like the Mad Hatter is kind of a staple, right? So I was curious to see what it came out with, and we were pretty happy with it, and it didn't feel like we were violating any type of copyright laws or anything like that. So yeah, it's like a derivative take on Cheshire Cat or Mad Hatter. So I would say it's hard to do these like very famous characters without getting their likeness, right?
Yeah. Crap, I thought I was getting rugged. Yeah, I was just curious if you guys had any tips for anybody that might want to do something similar with maybe already made pieces to avoid any maybe cease and desist orders or however it might go. That's why I was really curious when I saw your Alice in Wonderland piece, what you guys did to maybe avoid having any issues.
So a big step that would help anyone struggling with this is either I don't know if how gifted that person would be in drawing or something, or so you can use like a certain piece as inspiration and then take it into whatever art studio you use, like Clip Studio, Photoshop, Psy, whatever you want to use, and either try and recreate it to the best of you can as you can, or just use like their likeness while sketching out. And then the AI is actually trained on like different data sets. One of them is ImageNet, which is absolutely massive, millions of photos. So a lot of these popular figures, as long as it's very popular, like the AI knows who it is, more or less. So it knows a lot of Alice in Wonderland characters. But if you do something, or like artists, so like if you use Caspar Friedrich, the famous Romanticism painter, it knows who he is, it knows his style. So but if you try to do someone more modern, like someone who's famous on ArtStation or DeviantArt, it probably won't know who they are. So as long as it's something that's very famous and popular, pop culture, AI tends to know what it is. So I would say do your best to work with the parameters. Like it is a lot of trial and error. So you keep taking it back into Photoshop, modifying different aspects, discolor certain areas, add noise, add blackout lines, or block out some of the portions. And I guess just do your best to try and get whatever image you have like in your mind onto the piece. So
Very cool. Is there anything that I missed that you guys would like to share with the crowd before we kind of wrap things up? Did I miss anything?
Well, I just wanted to bring up like we do weekly themes. So like Alice in Wonderland was our last Friday drop, and we do the weekly drops are on Friday. So this week it's going to be mythical creatures. They're always going to be in a 15 to 20 piece collection. We might change that in the future. I don't know because weeklies getting to be a lot of work. But that's what it is for now. They're like I said, they're always one of ones. The floor is 0.0145 for this next collection, so we definitely try to keep our pieces accessible to others. I will say though, they sell out very very quickly. So if you wanted to get in on a drop, we always release them Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. We also mint the night before just because we need the time to be able to list on Friday. So we always mint it the night before, so you could always look at the pieces that you might want, favorite them, however you want to do that, have your eyes on, and then right at 9 o'clock, just try and be the first one. It's kind of funny because like in our Discord, the people are always like, "Ah, damn it, that's the one I wanted," and then they're like, "Okay, would you trade?" And I don't know, it's just kind of cool to see people who are so interested in our art. As we've like recently have never even been asked like, "What time do you guys drop?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, we need times." But so I just wanted to put that out there if anyone was truly interested. I would definitely say join our Discord, as that's where we do a lot of sneak peeks. We get a lot of feedback. I am very active in the Discord. I built it, so I that's like my baby. So I'm always in the Discord talking to the community. You can always there's a question section. There's a Soma FAQ. There's a Polygon onboarding FAQ. So if you didn't know how to maybe get Polygon and OpenSea or transferring to Ethereum and the bridge networks that are available, there's just a whole FAQ section associated with that. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to put that technicality out there.
Absolutely kick ass. So check out their art. The website is soma-ai.art. add them
We
on
are
Twitter.
doxed on there too, by the way. If anyone's curious what we look like, there's a picture of our team. So I know something that took. So I just wanted to throw that out there too.
That's one thing I forgot to ask you about your team. How important is Rudy to the creative project?
Oh, dude,
Lead wolf developer.
he's the wolf developer. First of all, he is literally the creative mind that helps Ryan keep going day in and day out. While he's up till like wee hours of the day, he literally has a chair that he sits next to Ryan on his PC, and he just sits there. And he, when Ryan's feeling a little anxious, a piece is not going the way he likes, he just reaches over, gives him a little pat, gives him a little nudge to keep going. But no, but seriously, he is a really big part of the team, and you'll usually hear him. We took away squeaky toys for the AMA, but he definitely you usually hear him.
Rudy's their dog, if anybody was wondering who Rudy is. Yeah, so add them on Twitter, go to their Discord. Also, check out their Twitter Spaces. It's is it every night? It's Monday through Friday, or are you doing weekends as well?
Yes, it is every night. So far, like we've talked to Trip, and Trip as thus far plans on having it every night, whether the co-hosts are able to or not. But everyone has been able to, I think, except Emily can't make it tonight. But they're every single night, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern, 8 to 10 p.m. Pacific. So yeah, come say hi. Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you again for coming by, and I'm gonna probably DM you guys, so maybe you could get me a little bit into this AI art because.
Of course. We always try and help on board. We don't gatekeep anything. I know I sometimes feel like we're a little bit quiet in the community, but that's honestly just because we prefer the smaller spaces so we can get more intimate with people and talk about it. Because as you can see, there's a lot of work that goes behind it because we don't just use a web UI and we don't just use a phone app. So there's just a lot that goes into it. And so it's really hard to get that in like a 1 to 2 minute, shill speech. So if you ever want to like have any questions, we're very open. Don't gatekeep anything. So DMs, bring them in.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate your time. It's soma-ai.art. Check out their stuff, everybody.